Just gonna hit record and start sharing to our Facebook page just so that we can have that up and running. We're excited to have everyone here with us tonight. And just give me one quick second to just make sure that we post this on our Zoom. On Facebook, I apologize. There we go. We're live. Okay. Glad to have you all here once again for our drug trend seminar, Hit of Knowledge. It's been a while since we've been able to do this, but we are very appreciative and excited to have all of you here present with us today. We typically have done this in person, and of course, due to the pandemic, we had to change things up a little bit, and that's why we're doing it virtually. But we are very excited to have amazing partners from New Jersey and AAA Northeast to be able to do an important conversation as it pertains to drugs and underage drinking, especially during this time of the holidays. And we know it's for our college students as well. If anyone has any children at home who are in college, very stressful time with finals and end of the semester and things of that nature. So it's a very important time to be having these conversations and to bring you up to speed with some very important topics as it pertains to substance use and prevention. So with that, next slide, please. So just real quick, just to run down what the program will be today. We'll go through a brief welcome and housekeeping. We'll talk a little bit about our coalition, Family Connections to that coalition. And we'll get right into our speakers, which I think is the most important piece and why you're here. So we'll hear from Isaiah and from Roz, and then we'll have some closing remarks. So let's start with a quick welcome and some housekeeping, and then we'll move on with this event. With the housekeeping piece is just be aware that you as a participant, your audio and your video is off. This is a webinar, so you will only see the panelists who are here just to make sure that you get the quality information that's going to be available to you. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A box at the bottom. The Q&A box at the bottom will be where you can post any questions that you might have for the presenters as they come up. Once the presenters finish their presentation, we will utilize that Q&A box to ask them the questions and to get some feedback from them based on any information that you would like. If you would like to use the chat box, you can use that to communicate, but please make sure to put your questions in the Q&A section because that's the easiest way for us to find it. This webinar, as I mentioned already, is being recorded. It will be available on our YouTube page at a later date, and it's being live streamed right now on our Facebook page. So you can also check us out, Family Connections of that Coalition on Facebook. You will be able to find this webinar along with others that we've live streamed in the past. At the conclusion of the webinar, when this is over, when you go to exit out, please don't just exit out, shut off your phone or shut off your computer. As soon as you exit, you will be asked to complete a survey, an evaluation for the event. We ask that you please complete that as soon as possible, as soon as it pops up, just to make sure that we are able to continue to provide you with effective services and programming. It will also be emailed to those who do not complete it right away, but the quickest way to get it done is just to get it out the way as soon as this event ends. There will be a raffle drawing held also afterwards, after the Q&A section for a spa therapy relaxation gift basket. So just be aware of that. We appreciate your time. We know you're here and we value your time, but also we want to provide you with a little gift, it being the holidays. So with that, next slide. Talk briefly about the coalition. As you can see, this is a picture of one of our events that was in person, of course, before the unfortunate pandemic that we've dealt with over the past almost 2 years now. We are a diverse group of individuals from all over Essex County, New Jersey. We look like the communities that we serve, and we're very proud of that. We're very culturally competent, and we respect being part of this lovely county and the lovely communities within it. Our mission is always to prevent and reduce substance abuse and to improve the overall health and wellness of residents here in Essex County. And we're excited to do that with so many great partners in the county. We empower youth leaders, and we work with various community members through collaborative practices and through, as I stated already, culturally competent and diverse practices to make sure that we improve education and awareness, and that we can advocate for local and countywide programmatic and policy changes here in Essex County. We do focus on underage drinking, prescription medication misuse and abuse, youth tobacco and vaping use, and of course now with the legalization of recreational cannabis, youth marijuana use as well is our focus. These are the areas where we focus on as it pertains to substance use prevention. We have a wide breadth of coalition members from all over, from the county of Essex to local law enforcement to our local schools, all the way through to faith-based leaders, youth leaders, parents, and local businesses. So we're very excited to continue this work. We work in various committees, so we split up the work so that we're not all trying to do the same thing all together. We divide and conquer is the easiest way to do it. So we have our underage drinking committee, which actually met this morning. We have our prescription drugs committee, an interfaith committee, which had an amazing presentation symposium not last month now, it's in October. And we have our LGBTQ plus committee here in Essex County working to expand substance use prevention efforts here in the county as it pertains to our LGBTQ plus communities. With that said, I'm going to let my fellow team members here on the panel present themselves, give you some quick insight into what they're doing, some of the strategies that we're inputting with our local communities, and then we'll get right into our amazing presentations. So with that, I'll pass it on to Jessica, and then Jessica will pass it on to Emily.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Delgado, and I work along with Emily with the youth leaders at the coalition. They're called incorruptibleus.us, and they work on tobacco and vaping prevention as well as underage drinking prevention. So I'm going to turn it over to Emily to kind of talk a little bit more about the sticker shock campaign that is on the slide right now. Emily.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Emily Falcon. I'm the youth prevention specialist, and I work with Jess with our youth leaders. So the pictures that you see on the screen, we actually did 2 sticker shocks this past month. It's crazy how this fast time is going. One on November 4th and one on Thanksgiving Eve. And we want to shout out to the Irvington Police Department for partnering with us. They've been a great help and going into the liquor stores with us and our kids to be able to put these stickers that are actually our youth created last year. So we were able to do 3 liquor stores on November 4th and 3 on Thanksgiving Eve as well.
So for those that may not know, Sticker Shock campaign is placing these stickers on popular alcoholic packaging that minors might want to drink. And so it's just kind of a way to make people aware not to give or sell to minors. And we partner with local liquor stores as well as our local police department in order to bring about this awareness message. In addition to that, we also work with our youth in creating social media and flyers and other prevention messaging online, and also working with schools on giving presentations to youth, as well as doing various awareness events throughout the year, focusing on preventing tobacco and nicotine addiction, as well as now we're also working with cannabis use and also underage drinking. So if you have any youth that might be interested in joining our group, our coalition youth group, we're more than happy to welcome you. We have various leadership trainings available for them. Right now we're meeting virtually, and we meet every other week. And this is a completely free program where youth get the opportunity to earn community service hours, get free trainings, and it just looks great on their resume. It's a great way to build up various skills for our youth, building them up as well as educating them about the consequences of using substances and helping them lead healthier lives. So if you have any questions, you can always scan the QR code there, or you can contact me at, I can put my information on the chat box. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess and Em. Also want to give a shout out to the rest of our amazing team here at ADAPT. We have Julia Reboredo, who is our coordinator, who oversees our LGBTQ plus initiatives. We have Hector Perez, another one of our coordinators who oversees our prescription drugs initiatives and our work with our older adult communities. You've already met Jessica and Emmeline. Along with Jess and Em, we do have three of our prevention specialists, Alexis Raymond, who works alongside Hector with our prescription drugs initiatives and our older adults. And we also have Jenna Atmay and Itzaidi Soheda, who work with Julia with our LGBTQ plus initiatives. So just want to make sure we give a shout out to the full family here that we have at ADAPT. Next. We are also, as I mentioned earlier, we're part of Family Connections. And we always say that's not a typo. Yes, the agency has been around since 1879, and they have a very proven and committed track record to help the community and to make sure that we work together to build on the well-being of everyone who lives not just in Essex County, but all over the state of New Jersey. We make sure that it's important to bring hope and possibility to all of the families that we work with. We're funded through the New Jersey Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services, and also through the federal government, through the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. That includes SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And very briefly, before we get to our presenters, why is this so important? Why is it important for us to have this presentation, this discussion as it pertains to drug trends? This was a survey that was done in 2019, of course, pre-pandemic, but it showcases where our current youth are as it pertains to substance use. As you can see from the first slide right above, that is for youth who took the survey in 2019, who answered stating that they had an alcoholic drink before the age of 13. And as you can see, 22% of ninth graders, 20% of 10th graders, 22% of 11th graders, and 24% of 12th graders have mentioned that they had a first drink even before the age of 13. Research from SAMHSA has shown that youth as young as 10 years old have already drank alcohol or are continuing to consume alcohol. So that's just something to be aware of. A couple of other things to point out, of course, is any use of marijuana, at least once in a lifetime. You see the numbers are also above 20%, 25% for ninth graders, all the way up to 50% as it pertains to seniors and individuals in 12th grade. The current marijuana users, as you can see, in the last 30 days, you have 11% for ninth grade, transitioning, moving up to 31% for those who are seniors. And you can see the same thing for current users of alcohol, 9% in ninth grade, moving up, transitioning up to 29% for our senior population in 12th grade. So I think it's very important for us to have this conversation, highlight the current trends, and then hear from some amazing professionals in our field who can give you some guidance on what the current trends are, but also what are some things that we can do to support our youth, to support our communities, and to improve prevention and support in our areas. So without further ado, I think that it's very important to have these presentations and these conversations. So we'll go right to it with our first presenter, Isaiah Fuentes, who I had the pleasure of meeting thanks to Emmeline a couple of months ago. And he was actually presenting for us this morning as part of our Underage Drinking Committee. He is from Mothers Against Drunk Driving from New York, but also from the New Jersey area. Isaiah is the New York, New Jersey Region Program Manager for MAD and has been doing some amazing work that in New York that is now spreading into New Jersey. And we're very honored to call him a friend and a partner to assist us with that. In his work as regional program manager, Isaiah is working on building new relationships across the state to bring MADS free and research-based underage drinking prevention programs to new communities. So Isaiah can talk to you more about what those programs are and what he is already offering here in the state. But we hope that you can learn a lot from Isaiah, and then from there, partner with Isaiah in your local community. So without further ado, Isaiah, it's all yours. You can share your screen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is Fuentes. I am the, as I was mentioned, the regional program manager at Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and I'm really honored to be part of this this event this evening. When it comes to Mothers Against Drunk Driving, a lot of the services that we offer are completely free of charge. And there was a period of time in New Jersey where there wasn't a lot of, or just no staff members here. So as of a year ago now, we wanted to ensure that we can push into New Jersey really strongly to make sure that people are aware that we are here, we're here to serve, and we have a lot of excellent programs that we can offer to the community. And today, I'm actually going to showcase two of our programs in a combined way to all of you that are watching here today. And I am just going to share my screen. Okay. So before we get into that, I just want to quickly go over our mission. Our mission is to end drunk driving, help fight drug driving, support the victims of these violent crimes, and prevent underage drinking. And it all started from a mother who lost her daughter due to a drunk driver back in 1980. She wanted to make sure that there were services out there that can support victims of these violent but 100% preventable crimes. And back then, there wasn't really anything out there. So she wanted to make sure that she can pave the way for future individuals that will be affected by something like this. And we have evolved so much to make sure that we can do so many different things to anyone out there. The biggest thing, of course, as in day one, drunk driving. It doesn't have to happen. It's 100% preventable. So Joel mentioned before the aspect that it's a holiday season. It's one of the most dangerous times of the year right now. And a lot of people are going to be wanting to be in a festive mood, which is always a great thing. But we also want people to be responsible about it. So we always educate to people, come up with a plan 5-10 minutes before we decide to go out. And we do that all with our Taiwan Out for Safety campaign. It's our 35th year. And it's actually the 35th year that we coined the term designated driver, which is a term that we created many years ago. So we always want to make sure that we can assist people out there that have been affected, but also warn people to just be safe. But, you know, drug driving as well, as it was mentioned too, legalization of marijuana is now in full effect in New Jersey. So we want to make sure that we can be on top of that to make sure that anyone that has been affected by that gets the services. But most importantly, supporting our victims is true to us since day one. And today we're going to focus on one of our core pillars of our mission is preventing underage drinking. So I want to start off with a quick mission moment video, and then we can start getting into some discussion.
My name is Alex Oddie.
My name is Michelle Ramsey.
Lisa Black.
Donna Davila.
Jeff Kudlasik.
Jennifer Zavala.
Jared Swan.
When I was 13 years old, I was run over by a drunk boater. It left me with severe injuries from head to toe that I will have for the rest of my life.
And an impaired driver killed my 4-year-old son and my 6-year-old son.
An impaired driver left me severely injured in continuous pain.
Killed my daughter and unborn granddaughter.
Left me permanently disabled at the age of 23.
An impaired driver killed my father and left my kids without a papa.
An impaired driver killed my brother.
MAD acknowledges that drunk and drug driving are violent crimes. We recognize these crimes and support the rights of victims and survivors. If you have been impacted by a drunk or drug driving crash, MAD is here for you. Reach out to our 24-hour victim helpline.
So these are just, just a great example of people across the country that have been affected by drunk and drug driving. And it doesn't matter who you may be, whether you're young or old, rich or poor, anyone can get affected by these type of crimes that are, again, are 100% preventable. So we are out there to support. And we're honored to have Alex Adi, who is the woman in red. She's our national president, the youngest in our history too, that was able to be part of that video. Towards the end, I do have a quick video that she also created for our Power of Youth presentation that I want to share with all of you too, because it gives a great summary of everything that we're going to be discussing today. So as I mentioned before, we have two excellent programs that we offer out to the community, and today will just be a quick combination of important topics from both of them. Our Power of Parents presentation, where we talk to parents on how they can bring the conversations of underage drinking home, and our Power of Youth presentation, where we talk to teens about the dangers of underage drinking, most importantly, the dangers of getting to someone in a car where someone who is impaired, and so many other things. So I want to start off this section with a quick video. So we work with Dr. Robert Cerisi. He is a professor from Penn State University, and he actually was the person that came to us and worked with us to create our Power of Parents presentation many years ago. And his message is a really great one. So I want to start off with that, and then we'll get into some discussion with some key stats about underage drinking.
So alcohol is the most prevalent drug used in the United States, other than coffee. But it's the largest one, and it's usually the one that kids get exposed to earliest in their lives. It's really hard not to go somewhere in the United States and be away from alcohol. So when parents ask me, why alcohol? Why should we talk about alcohol among all the risky things that can occur? It's because it's the one that's out there the most. We don't advertise all other drugs during sporting events and other things. I mean, so a lot of our kids are exposed to alcohol advertising at very early ages. When they watch games on TV or they go to games live or something along those lines. The endorsement of alcohol is pretty popular in America. And the access to it is in every home, almost. I'd say every home, but it's in most homes. So alcohol is a great place to start these conversations, especially since many adults drink socially. It's a good opportunity for them to talk about their own drinking, why drinking can be healthy at times and harmful at other times. That's not to say that other drugs aren't important to talk about. Again, we're in the midst of, unfortunately, our nation's largest opioid crisis. And there's a lot of reasons why that's going on. And a lot of parents are being exposed, unfortunately, to the fact that they have really good kids that have been exposed to opioids and are addicted. So I think it's really important to talk about a lot of different topics that are relevant in our society today. Alcohol being clearly one of them, marijuana being another one, opioids being another one. You know, at the end of the day, we want our kids to be healthy and live positive lives and be independent, be passionate about things. And unfortunately, alcohol and other substances are usually not part of that developmental process to help them in that way.
So he's mentioned a couple of really great things. And when it comes to, at the end of the day, what we all want, just like he said, we want everyone to be healthy, whether you're an adult or a child. That's just number one. So having these conversations and having them often, especially at an early age, is a really important thing. You know, he also mentioned another really great topic, the fact that alcohol is one of the things that are exposed and advertised so much that are out there. Because like you said, we don't see anything else out there. I was in traffic, really bad traffic yesterday, heading into the Bronx for a work event in the evening, and there's a section of the Cross Bronx where there are 4 billboards, and within a matter of a couple of minutes of intervals, there was some sort of alcohol ad on those billboards. And just imagine what those residents around that area, around those billboards keep on seeing, those kids keep on seeing, those those kids in the car, waiting in the car, they're just seeing the billboards just changing every couple of minutes, and there's alcohol things there, but we're also driving. So just something to think about, when it comes to that. And just to throw some quick stats out there, alcohol is a drug and the number one drug choice of youth. I always like to mention that alcohol is a drug because a lot of people tend to forget that. There are a lot of parents out there, whenever I do a presentation to them, that it doesn't always correlate with them. Teen alcohol use kills more than 4,300 youth every single year, and kids who start drinking young are 7 times more likely to be in an alcohol-related crash. What it was mentioned before too in the really impressive study done with Essex and the high school there, that many kids have said that they were drinking before the age of 13, and those numbers seem pretty high. And it's actually, unfortunately, a really common thing because, yes, kids start having the first drink around 10 years old. I believe that the stat from SAMHSA stated, but kids at the start of 8 years old start weighing the pros and cons when it comes to consumption of alcohol. No matter what presentation we do talk about the common myths, and that's actually something that we definitely talk about with our Power of Youth presentation, because when it comes to that, there is a big conversation that we need to have in regards to the youth myths, because there's so many misconceptions that are out there. For example, I can drink and handle myself just fine, and a lot of kids feel that way in today's day and age. But actually, it's biology, it's not maturity. The young body cannot handle alcohol the way that an adult can. It impairs judgment and also reflexes. That is something that we all at some point think that we're invincible. And, there's a lot of limitations that can occur. Within our Power of Youth presentation, for the first time, we actually added some things about marijuana, which my awesome co-presenter today is going to be sharing a lot of really great and important facts on that. So that is definitely something that, amongst teens is really important to talk about now more than ever, because of what we're seeing in New Jersey, but across the country. So I want to continue on with just a quick video on brain development from Adam. He's our national program manager on this, and then we'll go ahead.
So what is the difference in how alcohol affects the young brain versus the older brain? Well, we have to look at how we make decisions, which takes place in the prefrontal cortex of our brain. This area here in the front, which is responsible for our judgment and decision making. The connections built in our brain, in this area, we use them for planning and our thoughtfulness. We know that these connections are strongest in older adults because those connections have had time to fully develop, on and after the mid-20s. For a younger person, decision-making is much more impulsive, and drinking alcohol can result in poor decision-making, which can make you less aware of your actions and cause you to be unable to recognize potential danger. So, the younger brain is still developing and hasn't had time to strengthen those connections, which means alcohol is especially dangerous during this time.
So as Adam mentioned, our teenager's brain is still in development mode, and it's not fully developed into your mid-20s. The last part of the brain to form is your frontal cortex right above your forehead, and that's where you have your judgment. And that part of the brain is so vital and important, especially to make so many big decisions, because as kids get older, those decisions will affect not just them at that moment, but also their entire lives. So we, of course, want teens to do the right thing and choose to not drink alcohol until they get to that age of 21. And that's why always educating them on that aspect can definitely help them. And of course, educating parents too. Many parents lived in that era in the United States where the legal drinking age was at 18, was at 19, until it got to 21 in the 80s, and they perhaps have that mentality, well, I was perfectly fine, I'm okay. But a lot of this research that was done in regards to the brain development they were still piecing everything together. And that actually, this is one of the reasons why, as well as others, that the law was pushed until 21 in the 80s. And that was thanks to many of the great researchers out there, as well as the original group of mothers from Mothers Against Drunk Driving that went to Washington and wanted to look for reform. And as we all know, alcohol affects the body in so many different ways, not just with the brain development, as I quickly mentioned, but also with other things too. Like I said, within our Power of Youth presentation, we do offer some research into the marijuana aspect too. The funny thing that I like to mention is that when I talk to teens, a lot of teens say they use alcohol as a coping mechanism, or they use drugs as a coping mechanism. And the funny thing about it is that those drugs can also lead into depression, anxiety, reduced attention, but yet you're also using those drugs for those reasons. So I always like to point a lot of these things out because, of course, as a teen, they don't always think about it. And when it comes to parents, let's look at everything across the board and make sure that those aspects within the conversation can be mentioned, from the parent perspective too. We also discuss binge drinking with our parents and our teens. And the most important thing about the binge drinking aspect is that in today's day and age, a lot of kids feel like they can handle a lot of alcohol. Now with the rise in social media, they see other people doing it, so they want to do it too. And they think it's not a big deal. Also, when it comes to breaking down that alcohol within the body, your body, it takes 1 hour, approximately 1 hour to process one drink of alcohol, which is either a shot glass of hard liquor, 1.5 ounces, a glass of wine, or a bottle of beer. And if they put a bunch of beer in a solo cup, that can equate to more than one of those servings. So with binge drinking, 4 to 5 plus drinks in about 2 hours will be binge drinking. And that's, of course, something that we want to avoid, because it then can lead to a big road of a bunch of different areas that, of course, we don't want any of our children to encounter. And as teens out there watching, you don't want any of your friends to encounter either. When it comes to the misconceptions within on the parent end, we see a lot of things too. And now more than ever, like I mentioned before, the holiday season. Letting my kid drink at home takes away the mystery and decreases his or her desire to drink. It's the holiday season, lots of festivities going on, so perhaps there really isn't a danger when it comes to that. It was also mentioned before too, a lot of college students are coming home too, so of course they just want to party. They haven't seen their friends, they had their stressful time with their finals and all these other things. They just want to chill out, and yeah, that's fine, but they're going to take it to an excessive place. It's a special occasion, it's a reunion, it's a holiday. There's so many different things that can lead to the misperceptions, from the teen aspect, but also the parent aspect. The one thing that we do see on the parent aspect too is I drank when I was a teenager and I turned out okay. That kind of, it's going to piggyback on what I mentioned before in regards to the laws changing. A lot of parents might have that mentality. It was fine, I was okay, and I'm fine, so why not? And that's definitely something we want to avoid, because studies have shown if you allow your teen to maybe have a little bit here, a little bit there, it would then signal for them it's a green light. So when they're outside of the home, they'll be more prone to consuming outside of the home. And that's, of course, something no one wants. Okay. And just to piggyback on something that was mentioned there too, when I drank when I was a teenager, I also encounter a lot of different communities, minority communities that have parents that perhaps come from different countries, and they then settled here in the United States. The laws are very different over there. So making sure that parents are notified that laws are at 21 here. Whenever I go into a school and do a bilingual presentation, and these teens just came here to this country, I also let them know, like, hey, it's not like your home country. It's very different here. You have to show ID. You have to do this. You have to do that. We have different laws here. So making them fully aware is a highly important thing. And lastly, I just want to quickly talk about parenting styles. When it comes to the parent end of this, parenting styles are definitely really important, because we want to make sure that we can talk to our teens in the best way at all possible. And the positive and authoritative style is the best one, making sure that you can strengthen and use your authority to strengthen and protect, but not control the teen. Making sure that there is an possibility for conversation, that that teen can feel comfortable coming to you. You know, my oldest niece is 16 now, and my dad actually has gotten questions from her to him, both my mom and my dad. And you know, if a teen doesn't feel comfortable talking to their parent, you know, it could be a grandparent, it can be perhaps a coach, someone else who they feel comfortable with. That's always a great thing. You know, we also recommend to teens doing that too, finding someone that you can be chummy with and making sure that you have any concerns, bring it up to them. Because overall, what we want is that we want everyone to make good choices, you know, when it comes to our teens, but also to our parents as well. You know, exploring activities to help with peer pressures. You know, teens are under so much stress today, whether they're a middle schooler, high schooler, or even college students. I always, whenever I do a presentation in a school, I always say, I don't know how these kids do it today. I don't know if I would survive high school, you know, and it is something that you perhaps can, if you notice something amongst your teen, they're going through something, maybe find an activity you can both do together. On the teen side, if you feel like, you know, you're just stressed out, maybe do a hangout with your friends. Like it says in the second bullet, finding alternatives to drinking. There's so many really great things that everyone can do that doesn't have to involve drinking. The next thing, guiding your friends, your teens and your friends to choose friends wisely. This is a really big statement because I feel that I didn't realize that for myself until I got older. And that is definitely something that might be encountered when you're definitely within your teen life. You know, you don't know your friends. They're going to be friends forever? And if you feel like they're pressuring you to do something you don't want to do, you definitely don't want to be that person's friend. You know, and we also want, you know, parents to, of course, maybe keep an eye on that too, and maybe insert like planting seeds of recommendations here and there. You know, of course, again, with the parenting styles, you don't want to seem like authoritative, like that person's not good for you, but say like, hey, maybe look at this instead. I kind of noticed this or I noticed that. You know, get help if your teens or friends have a drinking problem. Definitely it's party time right now, you know, because of the holiday season, because of the end of the year. And that, of course, is something that we want to make sure that if there's an issue or you notice something that just seems off, it's okay to ask for help. You know, it's better said than done when it comes to the teen side. You know, a lot of teens don't always feel that comfort level to do something. But I always educate within my team presentations, you know, talk with your friends, create a buddy system, making sure that you keep each other accountable whenever you go out together, whenever you do an activity together, whatever it may be, because you want to make sure at the end of the day, they're there to help you and you're there to help them. Steering clear of driving dangers, not drinking and driving or riding in a car with an impaired driver. This is bar none one of the most important things out there. You know, we always tell our teens to do the right thing and come up with a plan amongst their friends. For example, you know, when my younger siblings were in high school still, we actually came up with a code word plan. And if they felt uncomfortable for whatever reason, my sister would text us her code and she would keep it with her friends, making sure that they were protected. For example, there was this one night I was at my parents' house. My sister was at home writing a paper. She had this with her friends. Her friends texted her the code word. She of course didn't drive yet. I went to go pick up her friends. I brought them to my sister's house and they all hang out for a little bit. And then their parents picked them up after. Turns out that the boyfriend of one of her best friend actually was pressuring her to drink and she just didn't want to. So she felt uncomfortable and got that way out. You know, even having something with your kids, you know, on the parent perspective, you know, I actually still have that with my younger siblings. You know, if they feel they're now, you know, 22 and 24, if they feel uncomfortable for any reason or just need a ride, I'm their designated driver. I'll be happy to do that. So coming up with all these things and starting off when you're a teen, whether it's with your friends, within your home, it can still work as that teen gets older as a young adult. Now, I want to finish off with a quick video of Alex Adi once again. So Alex is actually a victim, and she's going to share her story a little bit more of what happened to her. The first video was actually created when she was a young teen doing presentations for Mothers Against Drunk Driving on the national level to where she's at today. We actually play this video for our parent and teen presentations, and our teens actually, I've noticed them get that light bulb moment, realizing, yeah, she's right. I can do something about this, and I can make sure that I am empowered and making sure I say no to these things. So I'm going to play it and then we'll finish up.
I was 13 and I was sitting on jet ski on Lake Harrington in Danville, Kentucky, right behind my dad's lake house. And there was a bass boat going a little over 60 miles an hour, and he was obviously intoxicated. He was 3 times over legal limit 2 hours later, and he went up over me, and I was thrown off the jet ski, taking the handlebars off with me. My brain shook inside my head and started bleeding in 4 places. I shattered my jaw, broke my neck, broke my collarbone, lacerated my liver, shattered both my femurs when I took the handlebars off, and lost my leg. That definitely changed a lot, including losing my leg, and this part of my face is now metal, just because they couldn't get my jaw back together, I guess, as well as my femurs are now metal rods. So it did change a lot as far as outlook on life, as well as how you go about every day. The people that are close to me definitely know my outlook on drinking and driving. It's definitely kind of difficult, I guess, when all of your friends are going to the party after prom, or all of your coworkers are going out after work and you're the only one that doesn't. But you kind of just have to deal with that. And for me, personally, after what I've been through, it would be a lot harder to do it than it is not to.
Hi, my name is Alex Adi, and I'm the National President of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. In 2014, I was named one of MAD's national teen leaders as a result of my advocacy and passion for the mission, but mostly as a result of my choices. I made a choice not to drink until I was 21 because I had seen the effects of making bad choices with alcohol in my community and in my own life after losing my leg to a drunk driver. I want to encourage you that the choices you make now have an impact on your future and that of those around you. No matter your age, you have the power to be a positive influence among your peers and in your community. In 2021, I was named MAD's youngest national president ever as a direct result of my commitment to ending drunk driving and underage drinking, and of the choices that I made for myself. When you are strong in what you believe in and are a positive influence in your community, that passion can put you in a position to have a positive, tangible impact on your community, your state, and across the country. When I was young, I made the decision not to drink until I was 21. At the time, most of my friends made a similar decision out of respect for me and for their future. This decision may not come easy, and at times you may feel that it might just be easier to do what everyone else is doing. The choices you make are the ones that will keep you, and maybe those around you, healthy and safe. Take a stand and be the example. Pledge not to drink or use marijuana before 21, and never ride with an impaired driver.
So I feel like that is the best way to finish off my section of the presentation. And, lastly, we just always want to share, having conversations is a really great thing, making sure that there is a opportunity that people can come together, you and your teams, to make sure that messages and facts, but most importantly, just honest questions are shared. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you hearing me out, and hope you enjoy the really great the next portion of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isai. That was a great presentation as always. I won't summarize some of the key things, but as you saw from the stats, binge drinking is something that our youth are doing. You heard about that, so just to once again hit that nail binge drinking, 5 or more alcoholic beverages for males, 4 or more alcoholic beverages for females in a very short amount of time, usually within less than 2 hours, or 2 hours or less. So that's just to be aware of that, just to make sure you are aware of that. But very good information, very important to understand our parenting styles as well, to make sure that we can make a difference in the lives of our children and of our youth that we work with on a daily basis. So with that said, Jessica, if we could just give the shout out to Roz, who has been an amazing presenter for us. Once again, one of our other presenters for our committees in the past. Roz Thompson from the AAA Northeast is the public relations specialist. Roz is a very tremendous, very high energy presentation that she always gives with us. We truly appreciate that. For always having discussions. We know from a lot of our coalition members and our partners that she has gone all over Essex County to continue to do these presentations as it pertains to driver, pedestrian, and traffic safety. It's been presentations that have been done in high schools, colleges, anti-violence programs, workplace settings, etc. It's very important for you to understand and learn more from Roz. As Isai mentioned, Roz will be touching base on the marijuana portion, but also important to just consume the information and share it with others. Whatever you learn from Isai or Roz today, make sure you share that with others. And we will make sure to get questions from the Q&A onto our panelists right after Roz's presentation. So go ahead, Roz.
All right. Well, if I already have permission to share my screen, I will do that. If not, I will hold on a bit. Have the reins here, and I will share my screen, and I'm going to do my best to be as brief as possible for the sake of time. I just want to get rid of that. All right. A lot of information was displayed about alcohol, and I say touched wonderfully about the use of marijuana. AAA has done a phenomenal job throughout New Jersey promoting driver, pedestrian, and traffic safety. As you already know, in November, voters overwhelmingly approved marijuana. They voted to have that for medicinal and recreational purposes. And of course, in January, the governor of New Jersey made it legal to do so. It is not legal for teenagers. I always start a presentation off with saying that we should be the example that we want to be. And I think households can do a better job at making sure that we are doing our part. So AAA has comprised a presentation or program geared toward the explanation of the cognitive effects that marijuana has on the teenage brain. We say that we're going to present the blunt truth about marijuana and driving, because though it is legal to ingest marijuana or to vape marijuana or to have edibles, it is still illegal to drive impaired. We already know that traffic deaths for 2021 is on the rise. Even though we're in still the thick of the pandemic and other strains showing its presence, traffic deaths have gone up and have increased. And as you can see on the board, crashes have increased in New Jersey with 642 fatalities just in New Jersey and 616. Teenagers believe that they are better when they ingest marijuana as an edible or as smoking it and vaping. But the most popular that we see among teenagers are edibles, also known as eddies. You see, we dove deep to make sure that we understood all the terminologies that teenagers and young people are using. They don't want to be detected because they do understand that it is still illegal for them. So now they're coming up with names such as eddies and just to name one. Long are the days that we have the brownie infused with the plant marijuana. Long are the days of just that one edible, because that was our only edible when I was coming up. And look how we progressed. Gummy bears, Cheetos, cereals, potato chips, just to name a few. And in the city of Patterson, there is a dispensary in which I have visited. And for the sake of medicine, they're using edibles for medicine. But we still teach even adults, or we still educate on the fact that if you're going to use marijuana or an edible as medicine, then we ought to make sure that we are responsible, because as stated earlier, it is still illegal to drive impaired. Teenagers think they're better because of it. They think they can pass tests better. Most believe that they are better drivers under the influence of marijuana, and they will challenge activists or advocates such as myself with the medicinal component of an edible or for marijuana, which is why we explain the facts about marijuana and impaired driving. We explain that under the influence of marijuana, you're either gonna be overly relaxed or anxious. Professions are gonna be on the lookout if you're gonna have a driving job for this look, overly relaxed. Under the influence of marijuana, it can impact your cognition. That's how you process things. Your attention span while driving. Will you be able to understand your risk avoidance, such as floods or bad weather, snow, or make intelligent decisions while you are under the influence of marijuana? Your reaction time while driving is crucial. You have to be able to react in time. And then if we step outside the driving range and talk about balance and coordination, this presentation is also geared toward the passenger and is geared toward the pedestrian. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but marijuana use does impact your cognition, your attention span, risk avoidance while driving, reaction time and tracking. Will you be able to stay in your lane under the influence? And balance and coordination. Marijuana significantly affects routine driving. This is the lunch and learn portion of Shifting Gears. We also have our award-winning teen presentation that talks about THC, that talks about the blunt truth of what really causes impairment. And as we know, it's not the plant that causes impairment. It is the active ingredient THC, also known as tetrahydrocannabinol. We explain to teens that their brains automatically produce a chemical, or their bodies automatically produce a chemical called anandamide, and it is similar to the active ingredient THC. Here we explain how passengers are just as affected by what the driver does. Because driving requires your undivided attention with your hands on the wheel, your eyes on the road, and your mind on the focus and the concentration on driving, we explain that if you're a passenger in a vehicle being driven by someone that is sleepy, tired, impaired by alcohol or marijuana, it is just as dangerous and deadly to be driven by someone under the influence. Walking also has its consequences. So here, I want to show this very brief video that explains what I just spoke about.
Because marijuana affects balance and coordination, safety is another health risk.
We're driving down the street. He looked like he was overly relaxed. Before I know it, he's heading into somebody oncoming. You know, I'm thinking like, oh my God, we're gonna die. Like, are you gonna move? So yeah, it was not a good experience, and I have not touched pot since.
Marijuana use more than doubles a driver's risk of being in an accident. The risk is even greater if marijuana is used along with alcohol. It's not just driving that's a safety issue.
You're going to have a much harder time with your motor control, with your reaction time. I've seen kids with skateboard accidents. You know, whatever it is that you're doing, you're not going to be able to do as well as if you were sober. So, you know, we see lots of different kinds of accidents. with kids with slowed reaction times.
And here's where we focus and explain in detail that driving, as stated before, is one of the most dangerous things that we can do. And according to the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety, Washington State during the years of 2013 and 14 saw a 10% increase in drivers being killed by those that had the active ingredient THC. New York was the latest state to legalize marijuana, making it the 16th. New Jersey became the 15th state to legalize marijuana. So in the clip that we shown previously, we explained that it affects your balance and coordination. The things that you are able to do sober under the influence of marijuana, your coordination would be compromised. We also showed the clip where the young lady was the passenger in the vehicle. And we explained it is crucial that you understand that what the driver does affects you. The passenger was impaired and so was the driver, but it was the passenger that had to nudge the driver to stay awake. They were drifting out of their lane. Crash risk increased by as much as 200% among drivers who had recently ingested marijuana, according to that study with the Colorado and with Washington. There are physical effects that law enforcement is going to be looking for. AAA prides themselves with teaming up with state police, community police, and after-school anti-violence program. And we go into detail about what they are looking for if you're suspected. So teenagers want to know, maybe because they think that they can dodge the bullet when it comes to marijuana. But we explain that New Jersey already has 500 drug recognition experts trained to look for specifics. Now, with alcohol, of course, we know that officers would have a variety of standard field sobriety tests, but not so much with the drug recognition expert. They are trained to look for specifics. AAA has the luxury of having on our team a drug recognition expert, and they explain how they are definitely looking for altered time and space. That is when you're driving too far behind the car in front of you, or you are tailgating. And the arresting officer or the officer that's pulled you over will be looking for these things: drowsiness, eyelid tremors, dilated pupils, bloodshot eyes, and this is just to name a few. Now, alcohol leaves the body much quicker than the active ingredient THC. Alcohol is evenly distributed throughout the body. Marijuana, the active ingredient THC, concentrates itself on the fatty tissues disproportionately. It's in your hair, it's in your nails, and it stays in your system in a long time. The last time I presented here, I was careful to show and to spotlight this young man who is charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and marijuana. Young people call that crossing, and it's not. It's called synergism. And of course, synergism is, as we'll see later in the slide, when you mix alcohol and marijuana. Parents would call and ask, what can they do to or for a teenager that has already started ingesting or involving themselves in marijuana or edibles or vaping. And at first they admit it wasn't such a big deal because it's only marijuana. So you'll see those advertisements about don't drink and drive. You'll see all the information and billboards about drunk driving. But I'm looking forward to the billboards and the commercials and the information that would talk about marijuana and alcohol. But as stated earlier, this young man, 23 years old, college student, had alcohol and marijuana in his body. And his statement to police was that he only had marijuana. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we always downplay marijuana because it's from the earth. We use it as medicine. Oh, it's been around for a long time. And we negate the fact that anything that would make you feel different, believe me, you're going to drive different, you're going to act different because you are different. People don't drink to stay the same or to feel the same. They drink and they take these things to make them feel different. Even the medicine. When you're not feeling well, you'll take medicine to make you feel better or different. And in this case, this young man in the deposition spoke highly on it's only marijuana. I'm so sorry, but it's only marijuana. But only marijuana and alcohol killed or had him to feel different and crash into another motorist. The cognitive effects, marijuana has strong psychoactive effects which impair your basic cognitive functions. I don't know any teenager that's not supposed to have a zest for life. And driving requires your undivided attention. And with new drivers, because they are deemed to be inexperienced, you have to make sure that you're focused. We have to make sure that you are ready for the road. And when you incorporate marijuana, it does negate the abilities for you to be able to organize and focus, set goals, daily activities, just to name a few. Marijuana also impairs a driver's estimation of time and distance and causes problems with divided attention. And driving, as stated again, I'll say it throughout the presentation, requires your undivided attention. Here we have it, where teenagers consider mixing marijuana and prescription medication, alcohol and prescription medication, or alcohol and marijuana as crossing. And we've identified ourselves with most of the terminologies that teenagers use, and we make sure that parents understand the terminologies that are used in texting or that is used when they are talking via the telephone. But they call this crossfading, but the true verbiage is synergism. It's almost like the math equation is supposed to be 2 + 2 is 4, but instead it's 2 + 2 meaning being 1,000. I had a kid today or a teenager today while presenting ask me, would he be charged if he used an edible for medicine and was driving a car? He's a senior in high school and he wanted to know. And I explained to him, yes, sir, you will be charged with vehicular homicide if it's involving a death or a fatality, and you will be charged with reckless driving in addition to impaired driving. And so I do find that in the 5 years that we've been presenting Shifting Gears, not only have we been reinvited back to present this, the teen version, but even the teens have questions about anandamide. They have questions about the driving component being under the influence of something that is deemed to help you feel better. And we explain about NyQuil, we explain about the prescription medication that's prescribed to you, and even things such as Tylenol, PM, or Advil, PM as well, just to name a few. I want to wrap this up because I want to hear from you. I want to hear your questions. But earlier I quoted that when you feel different, you're going to drive different. And here's a case of Jake that did this nice reenactment of someone that not only did the synergism, but the passenger was affected as well as a pedestrian.
Jake! I'm sorry.
If you feel different, you drive different.
Unless this generation makes changes to their behavior and culture, research shows us that impaired driving crashes will increase and continue to injure and kill motorists and their passengers. I present almost every day. I'm in just about any high school that would have me. Let's talk about after school so that we can get this message out. Because it's the truth. When you feel different, you drive different. Marijuana is legal for the adult, 21 years of age of over. And even them, we have to set the message. that we have to be responsible. You wouldn't leave, or you shouldn't leave alcohol around small children, as well as teenagers, and we have to start with us. Here's the overly relaxed look that I talked about when one is under the influence of marijuana, alcohol, and let's just even stay with prescription medications, because even that can make you feel different. Let's go even further and talk about the passenger who jeopardized himself being in a car with an impaired driver. Let's quickly speak about the pedestrian, because had she not been sober enough to be able to get out of the way, then she too could have met her demise. AAA has a host of information that we can send to anyone that is interested in it. We have our activities that we incorporate with the teen version of Shifting Gears. And once again, I cannot express enough that it starts at home. We have to make better decisions on what we are leaving around. Overdoses is on the rise as a result of marijuana and edibles being legal for you to have recreationally. And they are mistaken these things that look like the real thing as the real thing. And we are seeing a rise even in overdoses. But if you're gonna operate a motor vehicle and do it impaired, it is reckless and deadly to do. My name is Roz Thompson. I absolutely am appreciative of the ADAPT program for the opportunity to be able to present this. And I will stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to this phenomenal group.
Thank you very much, Roz. We truly appreciate that amazing presentation. As you can understand, sometimes when we think of impaired driving or driving under the influence, we only talk about alcohol, but there are other substances that also impact our ability to drive effectively on the road. So we appreciate you as always. For those who have not had an opportunity, please feel free to type in your questions into the Q&A section. I do see in the chat box, there was one comment. Sometimes a buzz driver can act up during a journey and endanger a sober, unimpaired driver. So just kind of going back to your point, Roz, there.
Absolutely. What someone in negligence can do can always harm or impact those that are paying attention, like myself. My eyes are on the road, my hands are on the wheel, but I have to drive defensively, even in broad daylight, from someone that's reckless. So you're absolutely right.
Thank you. And we're going to answer one of the questions that we have in the Q&A live right now. So the question is, and this is for both of you, Isai and Russ, does it help as adults to avoid drinking in front of your teens? Would this strategy help set an example in any way?
Sure, you know, it definitely does, but also explain to them, like, for example, if you're at home and consuming there, you know, yes, I'm drinking at home because I am over 21. I am at home, I'm not driving anywhere. If you're out, for example, you know, you can also do that, but then explain, you know, I'm only having one drink. It takes 1 hour to process this one drink. So I'm going to also eat, and then we're going to wait, and then we'll be okay to then depart. But yeah, you know, being honest and transparent is always the best thing when it comes to conversations.
I can remember my mom and family celebrating during the holidays, and we were never allowed to be amongst the adults. And I so salute her for that, because she was trying to protect us from what we were going to probably be introduced to later, or make those decisions on if we wanted to drink. I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I'm grateful to my mom and to my family, that if I had aunts and uncles that were over and that they were going to indulge, they were way off in another portion of the home. They explained to us that, you know, we're going to do adult things and we want you to be in this portion of the home. We always tell adults, if you know you're going to have one glass, buzz driving is one sip if it affects you that way. So be prepared and have a plan B for, they got Ubers, they have Lyfts. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to even assume that, it won't affect them. You just never know. So I think that, the driver during this holiday especially should be prepared. And I do believe that those that are of age to drink should just make sure that they are responsible. We were all teenagers. We know what they're thinking. We know what their curiosity can land them. So I just think that please be responsible. Please remember your teenage years. And now just look at, they legalized marijuana. Never in a million years would I have thought that. So now you got to worry about alcohol and marijuana. Wow.
Thank you. And Isai, one question just to kind of piggyback off of what we discussed a little bit earlier. So when you're talking to teens or to your youth leaders and you're educating them on the terminology of binge drinking, what's the easiest way to educate a teen on that concept and why that is dangerous?
We get into the way that I do it with my youth presentations with my older students, so 11th and 12th graders. I kind of get into like, give me an example of when you've been to a party and you've seen excessive drinking. And of course, people would share their own stories. And then I would say, well, would you consider that binge drinking? And, and like I gave the definition earlier, I would say it is, and this is the definition. And a lot of them would just say, no, they just think it's just regular social drinking. I'm like, no, well, that is binge drinking because it's within the definition. You're drinking 4 to 5 plus drinks within 2 hours. And, of course, it takes your body 1 hour to process that one drink within those specific sizes. So if your body's it won't be able to handle so much, so I like to give real life examples as much as possible and kind of share from their perspectives. And then I kind of spin it on them when it comes to the teenagers. And with parents, I just let them know kind of like in the same way, but more of the factual aspect. And here's the definition. Would you consider this a normal thing? And a lot of parents don't always, they don't think it's such a big deal, but in reality, many of them actually do binge drink and not even realize it when they look at the definition. So.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, I don't see any other questions in the Q&A. We have a quiet crowd, and I think you answered a lot with your presentation, so that's a very good thing. But with that, I'm going to pass it on to Jess so that we can close out today's discussion here. I know we have a raffle to give out as well, but I'll pass it on to Jessica right now.
Well, we just have a few things before we get to the raffle, Joelle. So just wanted to share that December is National Impaired Driving Prevention Month.
Mm-hmm.
We have a holiday campaign that has been happening annually, I believe. The Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. Here in New Jersey, the Division of Highway Traffic Safety has provided 106 law enforcement agencies with grants totaling more than $630,000 to pay for extra patrols and high visibility sobriety checkpoints during this month of December, because as Isaiah has mentioned, that the Christmas and New Year's Eve holidays are the most busiest times when people might be out drinking and driving. And just to give you some information about 2019, about 10,000 people died nationwide due to drunk driving fatalities, and about 129 people died here in New Jersey. So that's why these efforts are being made to educate the public from a prevention standpoint, and also from extra enforcement through our law enforcement, so people understand the importance of not drinking and driving. I don't know if either presenter wants to elaborate on this, if you want to, or we can move on. All right, so I just wanted to see if in the audience Now that you've had the information from our presenters, what do you think that what will you do to start the conversation about preventing and reducing underage drinking and impaired driving? So if you can put in the chat box, we'd love to hear from you. Just one step, what's one thing that you could do upon the conclusion of this webinar? What do you think you're going to do either in your personal life, in your professional life, in your spiritual life, in different realms where you're interacting with the community, with youth, with adults, with parents, right, to spread this information? What do you think you might be able to do? Don't be shy. Okay, I'll let you guys think about that. Okay, well, if you think of anything, just feel free to put it in the chat box. We love to hear from you. All right, so we're just gonna close out today's webinar. We just have a couple of announcements from the ADAPT Coalition. We have our upcoming Prescription Drugs Committee meeting coming up this Thursday. Next Tuesday is our Interfaith Committee meeting, and in January 13th is our General Coalition meeting where you can hear updates about our entire coalition. These QR codes to the right hand, the first one is the event registration. So all of our events that you're able to register online for are here. You can scan that. And our Dropbox locations are for our prescription Dropbox secured lock boxes. So if you have any medications that are expired, unused, you can drop them off safely so others don't have access to them at these secure mailboxes throughout Essex County Police Station. So these are the locations. We have one in almost every single town, municipality in Essex County. So that's the best way to dispose of your medication. Never flush your medication down the toilet or down the sink because that will pollute your water system. And don't throw them out in the trash because others may be able to take those medications out to use for themselves. So that's what we say, to dispose of them properly in these locations where they'll be sent to an incinerator. Okay. And don't forget to connect with us. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then YouTube. And we also have a podcast at Adapting Through COVID. So please make sure to subscribe to us, follow us, connect with us on those various channels. Okay. Last but not least, we have a raffle drawing, a prize for the Spa Therapy Relaxation Gift Basket. Emmeline, do you have the winner for that?
Give me 1 second. I can pull one up. While I do that, there's Dr. There was like a comment set in the chat for the question you had asked.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Let me
I
check
pulled
that
this
out.
up.
Okay, so Dr. A writes, continue to caution persons about leaving alcohol and edibles lying around. Correct. Here there are youth in the immediate environment. That's correct. So if you're leaving alcohol or edibles, not just our teenagers, but we have young children that could take those, ingest them. We've seen an increase to the ER departments because of young children and pets ingesting these products as well. And there can be hazardous to their health or even deadly if they consume too much of that. So not just thinking about our youth, but also our younger children, our pets, our loved ones. That is very important to keep all those things secure as well. Thank you so much. Very good. Okay. Okay.
Okay, I have our raffle drawing winner is Amy Biggle. I don't know, I want to say her last name wrong. So Amy, you're our raffle winner.
Congrats, Amy. Okay. So thank you so much to all of our speakers for sharing their expertise to help the communities and our schools spread awareness about the consequences of underage substance use and to help implement strategies to keep our youth and community safer. We greatly appreciate all the information. As Joelle mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, there is a survey that's going to pop up when you exit this webinar. Please make sure to just click on it real quick. It's really super short. It's like 10 questions or less, very simple, multiple choice questions. So please, we would love your feedback. We thank you so much for spending this time with us tonight and getting educated and aware about underage drinking and cannabis use. We hope everyone has a safe and wonderful holiday season, and we wish you a happy new year. So thank you so much.
Happy holidays, everybody, and thank you for joining us.
Merry Christmas.